You know those 70 horror films in which an insane maniac goes around killing people one by one? Those movies had something in common. The fiend was usually male and the victims usually female. In 1973, the idea came up to reverse the roles to have men be the victims. A young writer came up with a story that had something to say and worked on many levels. He had high aspirations for his story and thought the film could maybe play in art houses. That was until he made the mistake of visiting his parents. Today I'm talking about the 1973 science fiction horror film Invasion of the Bee-Girls. Well, hello there, Old Man Kelly here. It's time for another episode of the Streamhunter. That's where I search out streaming services looking for little-known films, rare jewels if you please, and tell you my thoughts on them. They'll love the very life out of your body, says the tagline of the 1973 Invasion of the Bee-Girls. You know, I think this film suffers from its title. I mean, going in, you know who's doing the killing. So we spend a lot of time waiting for the film to catch up to what we already know. It's the tale of some horny male scientists who die while having sex. They literally die while having an orgasm. Are the Bee-Girls responsible? And since this is a 70s exploitation film, you can bet there's a lot of nudity. I have no problem with that. The film stars William Smith as Neil Agar, a special agent with the State Department's Office of Security who is investigating the death of a scientist. At the laboratory, he meets the head librarian, Julie Zorn, played by Victoria Vetri. She begins helping him, but then is almost raped. And of course, at the end, she has to be rescued by the special agent. Their investigation leads to a female scientist, Dr. Susan Harris, played by Anitra Ford. She may be responsible. Okay, spoiler, Dr. Harris is the lead Bee-Girl, and she has a lab that turns women into these monsters. They cover the naked woman with white goo, then hundreds of bees climb all over her, and once the bees are gone, they pull the now hardened goo off the woman, and now she's a black-eyed Bee-Girl. Now, interestingly, the film was originally written by Nicholas Meyer. He was working for Warner Brothers and was asked to write a horror film with a twist, one in which the men, not the women, were the victims. He liked the idea as he remembered reading a letter to the editor in the New York Times about Alfred Hitchcock's Frenzy. One woman wrote, "Just once I'd like to see a movie in which the men's eyes widen in fear." So he wrote a screenplay of an experiment in a remote desert think tank that goes bad. All the women become queen bees, whose biological urge to reproduce results in the death of the drones, the men. He called it the honey factor. He said it was a script that could play in art houses or a drive-in. It had something to say for everybody, and it worked on a number of levels. Denis Sanders, an Academy Award-winning director, was hired to direct. Now, Nicholas Meyer is no hack. He wrote the book The 7% Solution and wrote the screenplay for the film version. He also wrote and directed Time After Time, Star Trek II The Wrath of Khan, and Star Trek IV The Undiscovered Country, among others. By the way, those are the two best Star Trek movies. So anyway, he takes the vacation to spend time with his parents. When he returns, he's informed that a few changes have been made to his script. The revised script was titled Invasion of the Bee-Girls and was credited to Nicholas Meyer and Sylvia Schnebel. He said, "Who the f*** is Sylvia Schnebel?" It turns out Schnebel was the girlfriend of one of the producers. Go figure. Meyer said all that had been witty and oblique had been chucked in favor of dumbed-down stuff for the drive-in crowd. It was really an absurd piece of material. So first he tried to get his name off the script, but his agent convinced him that, as a young writer, he needed the credit. So instead, Meyer successfully got Schnebel's name removed. And now it's time for the good and the bad, and these are from audience reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. Brian P. wrote, "Waste of time, very weak movie, do not watch. If you do end up watching it, side effects include suicide, murder rampages, road rampage, any kinds of way of harming yourself, and many others." I guess Brian didn't like it, but William W. wrote, "Surprisingly good B-movie with something for everyone. Sultriness, horror, sci-fi, suspense. Well scripted by future cult director Nicholas Meyer. Well worth finding and throwing on." Now back to the film. You know, in this movie, I think every female actor gets naked at one point. Anitra Ford was a model on The Price is Right, and she appeared in films such as The Big Birdcage and The Longest Yard. Victoria Vetri was Playboy's Playmate of the Month for September 1967, and 1968's Playmate of the Year under the name Angela Doran. In 2010, she allegedly shot her husband during an argument and was sentenced to 9 years in prison. Now, the film is about what you think it is. If you enjoy 70s-style exploitation films, you'll probably like it. If anything, it suffers from taking itself too seriously, as if the filmmakers thought they were making a classic horror film, not the cheesy fun film they were actually making. And the music for this film is 1970s gold. Now, if you'd like to see this classic film, there are 2 versions to watch for free on Amazon Prime if you have an account. One good print and one by a company called Cheesy Movies, which is really an inferior copy. There's also 2 or 3 versions you can pay for on Amazon, but I didn't bother since it was there for free. The film was also in the public domain. You can see it for free at places like archive.org. Invasion of the B-Girls has its moments. And if you're a sucker for 70s cheese like I am, it's worth a watch. Now, before you leave, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff, I'd be forever grateful. Hey, thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.